never thought that I would come to the United States and I would see anybody that was homeless or become a victim of modern
Hmm.
day slavery, especially at a young age. I was a child. My childhood was taken away from me. My
Yeah.
education was taken away from me. I was taken away from my family. I didn't get to reunite with my family after 18 years.
This show is sponsored by Sevi, answering all your commercial real estate needs. Sevi is the first commercial real estate company committed to the 4 C's: commercial real estate, community, content, and culture. Go visit Sevi at Sevi, SEVI, properties.com. Again, SeviProperties.com.
Everyone, welcome to the DMV Business Show. I'm your host, Otto Sevilla, and today I have a very special guest for you, and it's going to be what a story for you. It's going to be a roller coaster. So we have Evelyn Chumbow. Evelyn is an anti-traffic advocate, and she also works with the Human Trafficking Legal Center. Welcome to the show, Evelyn.
Welcome. Thank you for having me, Odo. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I'm glad for you to be here. So if I know you're not originally from the DC, Maryland area, so if we can get started. Where are you from originally?
Well, let me introduce myself. As you mentioned, I am Evelyn Chumbow. I'm originally born from Cameroon, which is central. Most people would think west. And I came to the US when I was 9. So I grew up in the DMV, Baltimore, DC, Maryland, a bit of Virginia, but mostly Maryland.
Okay, perfect. DMV.
Hmm.
So you're originally from Cameroon, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you said you came here when you were 9. So if I can take you back home to Cameroon, when Evelyn was a little girl, like what were you into? What'd you do? What did you not like to do?
All right, thank you, Otto. When I think about my childhood in Cameroon, it was great. So I loved to play soccer back then. I enjoy playing soccer, and then mango is one of my favorite fruit. I had my own mango tree, which I really, really like. So I was born in the city, in Cameroon, which is called Douala. And the Cameroon is English. The main language is English and French, but we have over 250 different dialects. Yes.
Wow.
So
Okay.
a lot of Cameroonians in the DMV area. So yeah, so I enjoy playing soccer. I enjoy playing, and I love going to my mango tree, harvesting mangoes.
And your mango tree, was that just you grabbing mangoes and eating it, or did you ever decide, hey, you know what, let me start selling some of these mangoes, or no?
Good question. So I grab it to eat it, but I also with my dad that I used to live with my dad before I moved in with my uncle, and sometimes I would have it to go sell it with my dad. My dad passed away last year in
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, so I'll do both, right, to help out my dad and stuff like that.
Hmm.
um we wasn't, sometimes when I share my experience, we wasn't like super super poor where we couldn't eat, because the
Mm.
mindset a lot of times, people would think that mindset, but we wasn't also like super super rich. We had every day. And kids that grew up back home back then, we really like to support our family by helping them sell mangoes or peanuts or whatever, just to help them, assist them with the household chores.
Of course.
But I
So
wasn't
did
forced to do it.
Yes, yes. Did you grow up in the city? I know you mentioned the city, or did you grow up outside of the city?
So I was born in the city. I grew up in the city, but my parents did get separated. So I was born in Douala, but my
Hmm.
and we are from the English part of Cameroon, which is called Bamenda. So my parents are from Bamenda. So my parents got separated, so I had to leave Douala and go stay with my uncle in Bamenda, who works for mostly work for wealthy Cameroonians. So my
Okay.
work for a lot of wealthy Cameroonians.
Did you grow up at home speaking English or French or any of the 200 plus languages, or how was that?
So it is confusing, right? So when I talk about my story, it's a form of it is modern day slavery, right? And when I think about the history of slavery in this country, I always think of myself. I can relate to them because my language was also taken away. I was born in the French part, which was Douala. I spoke French. I only spoke French, but then I had to move to Bamenda, which they don't speak French there. And now I live with my uncle, and you had to speak proper English. Then there's also pidgin English, like Creole, how it. And there was no one to speak French with in Bamenda. So now I was like, when I'm speaking French, the kids in Bamenda will look at me, what is she talking about? What is she saying? And I had to go to school to Bamenda. So then I just adapted to, I forgot my French. I still remember a little bit, but then nobody, my uncle, my cousins didn't speak French. They only spoke English. And then my uncle didn't speak French either at that time. So now I just had to learn the pidgin English and then just spoke proper English because we were also colonized by the British, French, and German. So I got confused. Then I came to America being enslaved, and then I just created my own. So it's very strange because with my Cameroon community, they don't think I'm Cameroonian. And with Americans, they know I'm not American. And because my language also was taken away from me, and even coming to America, there was no one to keep up anything with. So I'm just
I
out.
understand.
So
I
it's
understand.
difficult.
Cameroonians here in America, Evelyn, most of them speak what? French or English or any of the local dialects there?
So
Or
we do have French Cameroonians that do speak French here, and we do have most of them, of course, because they're in America. Of course, they got to
sure.
speak English,
hmm
right? And the dialect, like our dialect, it's weird because I'm just dealing with a lot personally too. I lost my favorite aunt last month in Silver Spring, Maryland. She was killed in a hit and run in Silver
Was
Spring,
she walking or?
walking. She was a pedestrian, took her
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry to hear that.
in for the drivers. So if anybody hear anything, let us know. Last month, and she was with me, in Christmas, and she died January 12th of last month. But she was also when we talk about language, she was the person that was teaching me how to speak
Oh,
dialect, which I was getting to know. She was part of my healing journey.
okay.
And she was teaching me how to speak my dialect. She was like, you got to speak your dialect,
hmm
And it's weird because I'm with my family now, and I just feel left out because both my mom, my sister, my mom, my brother, everybody speaks the dialect and speaks the English and French.
Mm,
I just know like basic. And
yeah,
sometimes I just feel a bit outside.
I understand. Even with your own family, because of the language barrier, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that if you think about it, it's just like Black Americans, right? Because
hmm
know where they come from, but they grew up here. They were born. They helped build this country, and so everything was taken away from them. But they kept some part of it. Like I knew I was from Cameroon. I knew that I didn't want to lose that identity, and I kept it even growing up in foster care. Well, we'll get to that. So I don't know
Yeah.
if you want me to start, but we can get to that.
I was going to ask you next. So, how did the whole idea, as far as you coming to America and 9 years of age, come about?
Yeah, so like I said, I grew up with my uncle who was
hmm
like a father to me. Very, I call him Pop. So he had told me that I was gonna come to America, and I was excited, right? Because in Cameroon, I used to watch a lot of television show. One of the things I also did enjoy was television shows, right?
hmm
Besides mango trees and playing soccer,
Sure.
I love TV, and I know a lot
What
of
was
people.
your favorite show?
Yeah, so I used to watch a lot of television show back home. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Of course,
I
yes.
wanted to marry Will Smith. 90210, Brandon, Kelly,
Okay.
the people from 90210, and The Cosby Show. I know people will have their things too, so but
Yeah.
I love my dad very much, but I was always wishing for a Huxtable dad.
Okay.
You know, I
Yeah.
and I thought America, like, the TV, I even have pictures. I'll probably share that with you later, but I have a picture of me um holding my niece, and the TV is in the back, the box TV, because I'm
Mhm.
you know. So but I just thought America was just like those TV show, Otto. I just thought that if I come here, boom, Will Smith will be right there. And I really did think that Michael Jackson could really turn into a lion or tiger. I really, really believe.
Yeah.
I never thought that I would come to the United States and I would see anybody that was homeless or become a victim of modern
Mhm.
day slavery, especially at a young age. And not only that, knowing the history of slavery in this country, right? So my
Mhm.
trip brought me here. She was a woman. Yes, she was Cameroonian. She was wealthy in their family was wealthy in Cameroon, but she was also wealthy here, right?
Okay.
And so I came here right here in Silver Spring, Maryland. I did not think that I would become a victim of child forced labor at age 9. I just wanted to. So when my uncle said, "You're coming to America," I was excited. Oh, I'm going to marry Will Smith. I'm going to have Rudy. We're going to be friends. I'm going to have white friends, black friends, because that's what I
Mhm.
on TV. That was
Sure.
the image I thought. Um, didn't think that I would come here and be forced to work, cook, and clean for 2 kids. So I first before coming, I know we don't have enough time, but we can be here for all day. I'll cut it short. I first arrived in London, which I thought, now I know the difference, right?
Okay.
We are talking about trafficking. There's process, right? And I didn't know that I came to this country without my own name,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So I didn't know that,
Okay.
right? And also, we also have to think about it, like, who are the people that work in the
Yeah.
airports, right? That should know all these things. Like, trafficking, modern day slavery is a big business, Odo. It's a big business. And especially when we talk about forced labor. Like my situation, I'm a survivor of child forced labor, right? A lot of the times you even see in the media, you see a lot on sexual exploitation, sex trafficking, because when people think trafficking, they just think sex.
Yes.
They don't think about the forced labor. There's so much more when it comes to forced labor. There's so much. If you look at the documentary on Didi, like, he had artists that he was not paying and they were working. Why is that not making headline? Like, these artists were working for this man and they were not getting paid,
Mhm.
but they're focusing on the sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And I always say the reason we don't want to address forced labor, because you and I, Otto, me, myself, we're all guilty. Because where does our product go? And because the world, especially the United States, benefit on cheap labor. Because my trafficker brought me here at 9 years old to take care of her children and cook and clean. That is something she could have paid a nanny, pay them the right amount, but instead she decided to go to Cameroon and take someone that is naive, promise them that they were going to go to school, they were going to get this in education, and their family accepted, because everybody think that when you come to America or go to Europe, where I come from, it's just milk and honey. It is so easy. Everything is so easy. But I instead came here, it wasn't the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like, this is my story, how my story got twisted upside down, not upside up, right? I was forced to cook and clean at age 9, which I didn't cook back home.
So you have to learn that.
I had to learn that. Like, they cook for me back home, right?
Mhm.
Even if I took care of the kids, I would just hold the kid, like, let the mother, while the mother is in the kitchen cooking, I'll be playing with my niece or, cousins, baby cousins, like entertaining them, like a big sister, right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought I was gonna do. And then I slept on the floor, right?
Okay.
Very cold. I slept on the floor, and one of my punishment is I had to stand up from 10 p.m. until 5 a.m. in the morning. One of my punishment
To stay up.
to stand up
Oh, stand up. Oh, wow.
while my trafficker is sleeping.
Wow.
That was one of my punishment, and I was so tired working day and night. No school. Remember, I didn't go to school from age 9 until 17 in the United States. Right? In the and it happened to so many of us, right? That the world doesn't look about it. And then when we see in the media, we see all this news on sex trafficking, then people like me that are survivor of domestic servitude, forced labor, we feel like the world don't care. And
Mhm.
especially when it comes to children. I was a child. My childhood was taken away from me. My
Yeah.
education was taken away from me. I was taken away from my family. I didn't get to reunite with my family after 18 years.
Evelyn, when you left Cameroon, did your family, I mean, what was promised? Obviously, I know you said you came in through London with not your real names or false identity. So, were
Yeah.
you coming in as this lady's daughter or niece
Yes,
or
kinda like that. So,
okay,
I came in kinda thinking like she was gonna be like my adopted mother, you know?
okay.
I was told to, us kids back then, I don't know about now, generations be changing, but
Mhm.
so that we are always taught to respect our elders and do whatever they ask us to do. And my mother was excited. My dad, of course, because he had lost his job, so he wasn't really contributing. But my dad was, that's why my dad was like the most intelligent person in my family that I love so much. Because he did tell my uncle, which is my mother's older brother, was like, she's too young to travel to this country. When she's old enough and ready, if she wants to go, we'll go, but she's too young. My father literally told them I was
He
too young.
didn't want you to go.
They didn't want me to go.
Mhm.
But they didn't listen. So for my mom, it was just like I have to take care of all these kids. America is a great opportunity. Whoever wants to take my child, and it happens a lot. People from that part of the world give their children to strangers
Mhm.
who
Yeah.
abuse us just because they want a better life. And the better life is financial, economic,
Mhm.
support. So my mom, everyone was excited. Oh, America, America, America. They even did a farewell party, right? But
Mhm.
nobody called me to check how I am doing. And that's also because from now that I understand, my trafficker did not. The only person that called was my uncle because he was my dad. Like he was my father. He was like my father. So he called because he's the one that made the arrangement with the lady. So she
Okay.
and basically check on me, but I never really receive a call. So I know a lot of time when people think of trafficking, they think of Liam Nelson taken.
Mhm.
So I always say I didn't have a Liam Nelson dad, but I had a Liam Nelson brother, my older brother
Mhm.
that I live with right now, right? My older brother was away in college. So when he found out that I was sent to the United States, I don't know what he did, but he went out and got in a fight with my uncle and got the number from the lady and called me and demanded to speak with me with my
Okay.
husband. And I couldn't really say much, Otto, because my trafficker was right there. I have
Uh,
this all over my body. Like one of my punishment, I have to take off my clothes, and she will use a cable and beat me. So I have scars. Like I have one big scar right here. I don't know if you
okay.
see it. Yeah, right here.
Mhm.
So because I take off my clothes, boom, 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 whip, 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 and blood, literally.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was trying to tell my brother that I'm not okay. This is not the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. This is not 90210. I want to come home. But I couldn't really say these things because she was right there.
Sure.
All I could do, I was just crying. He was asking me, "Are you okay?" I'm just like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." But I think my brother felt it that I was
Okay.
okay. right? So, but then she brought somebody else, which was my cousin. She was like my guardian angel, and my cousin came and saw the abuse that I faced, and we ran away. And when I stayed with someone, but the person did not report the situation, so I ran away from that person and then went to a local church in Silver Spring, Maryland. We in precisely because
Okay.
I told you I know the DMV. So
Yeah.
Wheaton, there's a Catholic church there, is St. Paul Catholic Church, and I went to Wheaton and I went to that church. I'm like, hey, I've been in this country. There all these things happening to me. I want to go home. It was a priest, Father Michael. I want to go home. And the reason I went to the church, because in Cameroon, I went to a Catholic church. And then I also went to a Catholic school,
Okay.
so I went to that church in Wheaton. And from there, there were law enforcement. Then they sent me to Catholic charity in DC, which is by the MLK Library. I don't know if you know the
Mhm.
MLK Library in Washington, DC.
Yes.
I went there, then I met like all this, they were all white people. I always say I was scared a bit, but I was like just trusting. There was someone that was from the FBI, there was someone from Homeland Security. Then there were also people that work in nonprofit that know about trafficking situations, right?
Mhm.
But the law enforcement one scared me so much. Like the way they came at me was like, you are lying, you want green card. I'm like, what the hell is a green card? Like, we don't know that we need documents to be in this country. Most
Mhm.
of us. I mean, at that time, because
Yeah.
situation happened in the early 2000. Like, I don't know any of that. And my lawyer, I always say she was my favorite person. Her name was Melanie. I always say she's the baddest white woman ever because she just kept it real. Like, I love her name is Melanie Allhart. She knows she's my woman. She's my girl. I just love her because she was just always straight and honest with me. And
Okay.
she fought for me. She was so mad with the law enforcement, the way the law enforcement was coming at me. It was like, she doesn't know what that is. And she was a child,
Mhm.
and everything. So my story was investigated all the way to Cameroon. And I didn't know what my age was. They even went and brought my birth certificate from Cameroon. You can Google that. One of the prosecutor on my case, her name was Amy Pope. She's not the elect director for IOM, which is the International Organization of Migration. So she was one of the prosecutor in my case. As you can know, it was investigated. I got placed into foster care in Washington, D.C., which was another stories of its own because I was trafficked in Maryland. I lived in Silver Spring. I live in Potomac, Maryland. I live in Belpre. But then when it comes to services, Maryland really did not have a lot of services to help with people like my situation. Then I had to become ward of state in Washington, D.C. Grew up in foster care in like back then Southeast, not the one we know now. But my environment almost became me because back then there were kids in gangs in foster care. My first foster home was not really that great, but the second one was amazing because there were also survivor of the war of Liberia.
Oh,
My
okay.
foster mother became a foster mother to take in her sister, who is now my dear sister. Her name is Bay Nayan. And so it was 12 of them that came as refugee from Liberia during the war. And they all grew up in the foster care system. And we just became family because they are survivor of war and then I'm a
Mhm.
survivor of modern day slavery. And
Yeah.
also being from the motherland, we kind of related and just created a family. Because foster care was also a disaster. I came to really understand the struggle of the BIPOC community in foster care. Like there were so many kids that were being abused in the foster care system, a lot of services. I was just like, no. And I almost got recruited into sexual exploitation in foster care. I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not for that.
Wow. While at foster care.
Yeah, in foster
Okay.
care, because there were a lot of that's when the sex trafficking they were trying to because the one of the girls that I was friends with, they were like, "Hey, if there's this guy that can buy you a Timberland," back then Timberland was
Yeah, sure, sure. The boots. Yeah.
like I was like, "What the hell is a Timberland?" And first of all, no, I don't want no grown man. Like, no, I just
Yeah.
escaped this horrible thing. I just want to go to school, and school too was hard, so I wasn't able to go to a normal high school because I went to a school. It's called Next Step Public Charter School. It's in Washington, D.C. And so they were like, they'll pay you to go to school. If you attend classes all the time, they pay me. I want to go to school. You don't have to pay me, but I was getting that
Okay.
$dollars all the
Okay.
time because I had perfect attendance. And so foster care was its own struggle of its own. But regardless, I knew where I came from. And again, with Melanie on my side, my lawyer, legal representation, my case was prosecuted. My trafficker was sentenced to 5 years to prison, but she ran away. So they had to add it up. And when we talk about trafficking survivors, a lot of times we are scared to speak up. Like if you see what's going on in the news, it is really hard. We don't know if we're gonna be safe or protected, and it depends on who our traffickers are, right? It is really
Mhm.
for us to speak up because we don't know if it's safe. And I mean, I've been very blunt. I have spoke up, but I was also disappointed with the U.S. Justice system because they released my trafficker in 2020, but they didn't send me no letter.
Really? Okay.
They didn't send me a letter. It was because I love to be one thing I love about America is the diversity, right? Like
Mhm.
if I wanna eat Italian food, I go to Little Italy, somewhere in Baltimore.
Mhm.
So I love to be part of my community, regardless if I feel like they didn't do what they needed to do to protect me as their child. But I love being from Cameroon. I love Cameroonian food. And so one of my friend that was from Cameroon, they know my story and they were like, hey, they called me on the phone and it was 2020. As you know, we were all dealing with COVID. And they were like, you need to be careful because the lady that got you out, the lady that is out, she's out of prison. I was like, what? They didn't tell me. So I reached out to one of the lawyers, the organization, Martina Vanderbilt. I was like, they released my trafficker. They didn't let me know. And it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to get a letter and I'm supposed to know what the next step is. And which makes it difficult because remember when she was sentenced, she ran away and she was looking for me.
She was looking for you.
Yeah. So this is why a lot of survivors of trafficking they don't want to speak out because
Yeah.
they're not sure that they're going to be safe, Otto. Like this is a serious issue. So many people that I know that are survivors of trafficking have died.
Because of the person who trafficked them and the end ended up killing them.
Yeah, no, because they took their own life or
Oh,
because they also worried that the world would not believe them. And not only that, because they don't know if they're gonna be safe.
okay.
Like safety, when I talk, I say safety is very important. Make sure you protect us when we are speaking out and make sure our family are going to be safe. Right? And
Mhm.
and if you're gonna create policy, you need us to be part of those policy and make sure that our voices are in those policies. So when I did run away, my news being it was investigated, there were a lot of journalists that wanted to speak with me. I wasn't really ready traumally because I was
Mhm.
dealing with a lot. But my lawyer Melanie was like, "Hey, ABC wants to interview you. You don't have to go, but it's up to you. But think about the voices. Think about if someone hear your story, hear your voice, how many people you could change and how many people will be able to speak up." And so I had a choice. I can either just not talk about it, but then I started thinking about it that this happened a lot to kids that are from Africa, all over the world, and their voices is not being heard. And especially it happened to me as a kid. I was like, nope, I'm gonna talk, even though I was crying because it was very traumatizing, right? To have to relieve. everything I've been through and the scar. I have a scar that reminds me all the time. It goes back to like when I hear people say, "Oh, you guys need to forget about slavery." It pisses me off because you cannot forget something that was like 400. Like it was it affected, even though the people that are living did not go through it, but you can feel the pain. Just like I can just feel the kids. What I hate to see kids being abused. It don't matter black, white, Asian, Hispanic. I just don't like seeing kids being abused because that happened to me. And children are not supposed to be forced to work and be abused. They're supposed to go to school, and children are not supposed to take care of their financially should not be the one taking care of their parents. It's the other way around.
Yeah. Evelyn, this lady who trafficked you, did she have her own family, her own kids and husband, and you were living with them?
Yes, she did. I told you she had 2 kids and she had a
Okay.
fiancé at that time. And she come from a wealthy family back in Cameroon, like I explained. And she also
Mhm.
a lot of the siblings that live here in America, some in Virginia, some in Florida, and some in Delaware. And there's always that one good person in each family, right?
Mhm.
She had a sister that lived in Boston that was very nice, and also did not like the way she was treating me and argue with her the way she treated me. So when I first met her, she was pregnant, getting ready to have her second child. She already
Okay.
a toddler. And so that was my goal, to take care of both kids, cooking and cleaning. Just I was a nanny to those kids, and then also cooking that I didn't know how to cook. So a lot of the abuse that I was facing was because the job she wanted me to do, I wasn't able to do because I don't know what she was expecting. And then
Okay.
even when it comes to school, I asked about going to school and she would say I was too stupid to go to school. So yeah, yeah,
Gosh.
yeah.
And her fiancé, did he live with her? Did he speak
No,
up? Did he s Oh, he did it? Okay.
he also did speak up, and this is also one thing. The fiance was a medical doctor, right?
Okay.
So a lot of the abuse that I face, that she will beat me with, he will come and work on it. But there was one incident, she used a metal broom, one of those metal broom, and she beat me, and my knee cracked and the bone, and I was bleeding so bad, and she called him, and he said he can't treat that. Yeah, I have to go to the emergency room. So I went to
Okay.
the emergency room, but they never really asked the right question. And think about that, Otto. I am in my 40s. And I still remember all of that. Right? So when people
Mhm.
say to forget certain things, and even sometimes my family members, because in our culture, sometimes when abuse happen, they want to suppress it. They want us to not talk about it, because I also get a lot of backlash for keep talking about this issue, right?
Mhm.
It's something that is in me, and now I have to explain that to my own child, right? Which
Yeah.
I've done. And then I also have scars that live for me forever. And my trafficker also had businesses, right? She also had, you know, um, transportation business that carried disabled folks to their hospital appointments. And I
Mhm.
also worked in those businesses, right? So when we talk about forced labor, a lot of us, I always say that when it comes to forced labor, trafficking, when it comes to forced labor, 100% out of 100, 90% of us, it's just a number that I talk about. 90% of us are mostly foreigners that come into this country are forced to work. Why the other 10 are US citizens? People don't know that. US citizens as well are also stuck into forced labor situation. I can send you 2 cases, and it happens that they're Black Americans, right? There's a case
Oh,
of Chris Smith that was forced to work in a homeless man. I'll send you the article, was forced to work in a diner in South Carolina. And then there was a young Kendra Rush. She was actually on Good Morning America. She graduated, I think, 2 years ago because she wanted to be a lawyer. Child forced labor, and she was a US citizen. that was working in a diner and everything in a court and was forced to work so much, no school, and was abused with her entire family. But some of her siblings don't want to talk about it. Only her want to talk about it. And that's the same. Like they get mad at me for speaking out.
Evelyn, at 17, is that when you were able to run away? Because you said,
Yes,
yeah, okay,
yes, that's when I was able to run away. Again, just to let you know, I didn't really keep up with my age and birthdays and stuff like that. I knew I was born in November, Otto, but I just really didn't know the year, right?
okay,
Told you my story was investigated all the way back to Cameroon. I was in a situation where all I did was just work. The only time I knew when it was spring is when the weather changed or cold outside. And a lot of times I stayed in the house. And there were neighbors, right? There were neighbors that will come, but she will usually tell them that, oh, she was just too young for her. She's just short. They'll be like, isn't she young? Why is she not in school? Or even me taking the kids to the bus stop for the bus to take them or taking them to the playground. People saw me
yeah,
burn up. I was cooking because I was so tired. I slept off. She wasn't home. I burned up the food that I was cooking. The firefighter came. They didn't ask the right question. And they just
uh,
assumed it was a community thing. I had the baby on my back. In Africa,
mhm,
the thing where carry the baby on your back. So I had the baby on my back and the firefighter came. They just didn't ask the right question at that time. They just assumed that I was okay. Nobody
mhm.
saw the sadness. Nobody saw the abuse that I was facing. And nobody reported the situation because also in America, one thing I learned back then was people don't want to be in people's business. But sometimes it's good to be a part in certain business because you could save someone's life. Because I would have been out of my situation 13 or whatever. And I know sometimes people always say, why don't you run away? I'm in a different country. I don't know no one here,
Mhm.
right? And even it's not like Cameroon where I could run away and say I can go to this neighbor. And people were not very friendly in this country. Everybody's just minding their business. I didn't get a very trustworthy face to say, hey, maybe I can run and go stay with that neighbor.
What can someone do, Evelyn, if I mean, are there any red flags that someone should look out for them to sort of say, "Okay, there's something fishy going on here that doesn't sit right."
Yeah, there is red flag, but like I said, I used to take the kids to the playground all the time. I was young, right? There was signs.
Mhm,
I didn't seem. Yes, we're all dealing with so much of our mind, but the signs can be also just really be paying attention of the routine if you live in that neighborhood. Be paying attention to see what the routine is, what that person is doing. And also just try to see and we have material like it's different now, right? We also have a number now, right? The hotline, the human trafficking hotline number. Like if you see something, say something, and you can also call that number to make sure that what you're reporting is right because they would tell you that hey, it does look like a trafficking situation. There are materials out there. That's why I speak. I go to school. I mean, I speak in schools. I also do training with law enforcement on the issue. We also train the U.S. Transportation Department because a lot of the time we also escape and we go to like we're taking a ride, a taxi or something. We want to know. So the science is learn those signs. And as much as we try to mind our business, it depends on the type of business. You can save a life, right? If you see that there's a little child, doesn't matter boy or girl, and it happens to boys as well that we don't talk about. It happens to men, right?
mhm.
Men are also trafficked into forced labor. We have so many of them, that are forced to work also in places. And it's not only domestic servitude, like in my case, there's construction, there's beauty shops, right? There's restaurants.
Mhm.
right? And it's not only one particular ethnicity, right? Because a lot of time we always focus on one ethnicity. No, it doesn't matter. You can be Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. Anybody can be a victim of trafficking, right?
Yeah. That's so true. I'm in commercial real estate, and it just brought up a space that I saw a while back ago. It was a restaurant, and we had a client who was interested in leasing it, and then we go to the basement, and then we see, like, showers, and then there's bedrooms and lockers, and they're like, "Oh," and they're like, "Yeah, this is," I think formerly it was, Asian, maybe Chinese restaurant, I think they told us, and they're like, "Yeah, this is where some of the employees, they would live here." They're like, "They would live here, this is
Yes.
where they would shower, and this is where their lockers were, where they would put their belongings." So everything was just basically everything's here. It's just in the restaurant. You go up and you work in a restaurant, and you go back downstairs and you live, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they were getting paid or anything.
And
I
that's
don't know about
another
all that,
thing.
but
Sometimes their document can become taken away. Like I said, foreigners, our documents sometimes are taken away. And
mhm,
even now we see on the media with like ICE trying to deport people, like trafficking survivors are in like dangerous situations right now, right? Because we are not the one that, in my case, I was forced into this country. I didn't come to this country, right?
mhm,
And who brought me to the country, right? So if I don't have no document, what I gotta do with me? That has nothing to do with me, you know.
mhm,
And that's why I told you, Otto, we are all guilty of forced labor because this country precisely strive off forced labor, cheap labor. If you think about it, they didn't want to end slavery. Some states they rejected the bill on ending slavery. And the reason was because they were benefiting from cheap labor and because you don't also want to pay the people the right amount. And so we thrive off foreigners, forcing them to work and not paying them because most foreigners, depending on where they come from, they're just grateful of working because they run away from a terrible situation in their country. They run away from war. They run away from somebody trying to abuse them, their family. So they say they can come here and they want to get opportunity. So they just accept and take any type of job and are being forced. Or sometimes the employer will say, well, we'll keep your document. It happens. And let me tell you, we also have diplomats that bring workers here, domestic workers, right?
yeah.
We have clients that were brought here by diplomats, Otto.
And the diplomats are not paying?
They're not paying the workers
Oh,
and abusing them. And think about the accountability, it's not being held. So trafficking, think about the people that are bringing the people there. A lot of times they're wealthy people. A lot of times are people that are in government,
mhm,
right? So, and that makes it hard for a trafficking survivor to come out and say, hey, I was for you. But we have a lot of clients that were brought here by diplomats and was forced to work, cook and clean, and they were taking their money. They took away their passport. And they say, we have people that were brought for construction work. We have people that were brought here that say, hey, you work in this construction place, the construction company, a whole entire family, and would take away their papers, right?
yeah.
And I don't know. Remember the key bridge that collapsed?
Yep,
I don't know if that was a litigation issue. The people that were that they were mostly they were foreigners.
okay,
I think they were from Guatemala, I believe.
okay.
So forced labor is all around us. As so much as who are building our buildings, who and then the clothes that we wear. Like let me give you so I like I said in 2014, I spoke at a conference in London. It's called Trust Women Conference, and this was my first time in London after coming here, right? And first the lady that called me, her name is Monique Vella. She's very well known. I did a forwarding for her book. It's called Slave Amongst Us. You can get that on Amazon. So Monique Vella, she was the founder of Trust Women Conference. and the goal because in the UK they use the term modern day slavery. Why in America we use trafficking? In Europe they use the term modern day slavery. I prefer to use the term modern day slavery because when I think of my situation, it's a form of modern day slavery, right? But when we use the term human trafficking, then the focus just becomes sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Take away the labor trafficking part of it. Right? Otto, so I remember going to this conference in 2014. And before even going to the conference, I had another a survivor because we have what is called the National Survivor Network, which is under an organization called CAS. CAS is the Coalition to Abolish Slavery. It's based in California, in LA. And they started the National Survivor Network where all the survivors, we come together, we work on policy. And so in 2014, I got a call that they want me to come speak in London. And then there was another survivor. Her name was Marcella. She's a survivor from Colombia, the country, to Japan. And she's like, "Oh, Evelyn, they called me to come to London." I said, "Yeah, I also got the call." But then the lady, Monique, was like, we don't pay survivors, we don't pay for your flight. We would not pay for any of that. And Marcella was like, Evelyn, they want me to come to London and I don't have no money. And I just had a baby by myself. My son was just 1. And I was just like, I can afford to go to London. If I can go to London, I will go to Cameroon every year. So I told Marcella, I said, "Don't worry, sis, I got this." I called Monique. I said, "If you want us to come speak, you don't have to pay for our flight and our hotel. We cannot afford this."
Yeah.
People don't see that. People think that just because I'm talking to you, I'm getting paid. The mindset, or people think because Obama called my name, I'm like super rich. No, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So I called Monique. I said, "No, we're not coming." And so Monique's like, "Okay, no problem." She's French a bit. She's like, "No problem. We pay for your hotel, we pay for your flight, but I don't pay speakers. I don't pay speakers." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And my reason for going to London, I had one mission, was because first, when I came here, I first arrived in London. Remember, I told you that. And also, when it comes to anything Africa affair, Europe is more closer to it than America. And so I said, if I go to London, if I share my story, then maybe someone from my country can hear me and know that it's not right to send your children here to strangers.
Okay.
So when I was in London, there was a young man. It touched my heart, Otto. He was a young man. I believe he was 18 at that time. He was a young man from India. So they brought him there to come tell his story as a survivor of child labor, And by the way, June 12th is World Day Against Child Forced Labor. Remember that. So you
Okay.
that
Put that in the calendar, June 12th.
June 12th.
Okay.
The young man from India, he went on stage before I went on stage. He was sharing his story working in a Mecca mine since he was 6 years old, Otto. 6.
And this is in India or somewhere else? In
In
India. Okay.
He was sharing his experience, how he was working in this mine. He's been doing that since he was 6. That way he could help his family put food on the table. And then the mine collapsed, and his best friend that they were both working in that mine died, and he survived it. And in this conference, there were duchesses, there were queens, there were wealthy people, there were very wealthy people. And I'm just like, huh? I was crying because I could relate to his story. Tears raining in my eye, and everybody in the audience was just like also in sadness. But when it was my turn to get on stage, I got on that stage. I was just inspired by him. I was like, you are saying you want to end modern day slavery. You guys are gathered here to end modern day slavery, but you will not pay the people that have suffered it for their time and sharing their experience. So I said, if we want to end trafficking and modern day slavery, we have to address the root cause. And the root cause is poverty. You guys need to pay trafficking survivors, train us to get jobs. That way we can stop be re-traumatized or be re-trafficked because we work in places that we're not being paid. So I said in that conference, if you train me to do what you do, Otto, I can probably do it better, but I need training,
Mm-hmm.
right? We need jobs. Job is the key to help this, and poverty is the key to end and reduce trafficking. So, from there was a law firm, Baker McKenzie law firm. They were like, okay, we're going to give you a job, right? So,
You got a job.
I got a job.
Okay.
I got a job working at a law firm, one of the biggest law firm in the world. It's a global law firm, and their office is in Washington D.C. by the White House.
Mm-hmm.
So, but before I went to the job, I had to go there's an organization called Dress for Success. So back
Yes.
then, I didn't have like a nice suit. I was like, okay, they want to give me, but I still have to go for an interview. So I had to go to
Sure.
Dress for Success, get my hair done. But to that story, the reason why I'm telling you is, think about it. There was a young man working in a Mecca mine at 6. Who is making your product? Like, even now I tell my son want to wear some expensive, Nike shoes. I'm like,
Yeah.
your money is not going for that. I'm not paying $300, $400 for that. But I need you to know the people that are making your stuff. That way you can appreciate what you're,
Yeah.
you understand? Labor trafficking is all around us, Otto.
It is.
And it's us to respect the products and understand where they come from and to fight it. And children are not supposed to be forced to cook and clean or making your clothes or making the coffee that we drink. It's all over us. And until we start addressing it, and we can start by paying the survivors that have been doing that work for free, right? And so I did get offer a restitution in my case, but so far it was $100,000. I believe by now I've only collected close to 7,000 out of $100,000.
Why is that?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I'm telling you, right?
Yeah.
You see how it goes, and sometimes that's where you don't see a lot of people want to come tell their story. A lot of trafficking survivors want to tell their stories. Because what are they getting? Because sometimes I say I gave America a criminal, but what did I get? I got poverty, right? But
Mhm.
beside that, I got in foster care, I got my GED, I got my associate degree from Baltimore Community College, CCBC. Like I said, I'm a DMV girl, and I got my bachelor degree at UMUC as a Homeland Security. And people will say, but why Homeland Security with everything going on now? That was because the HSI officers in my case were amazing women. I mean, I'm raising a boy now. No offense to you, Otto, man. But the women in my case, I always say they were badass, right?
Yeah.
Because they investigated and they also saw that I was a child. They even went to Cameroon. They investigated, they brought pictures. They brought picture for me. But another thing they felt in my case was trying to reunite me with my family. I didn't get that. I had to work really hard. I work as a security guard at Kaiser. I work as a security guard at the Kaiser pharmacy. The security was called Securitized.
Okay.
Work for them. And while I was going to school, and then I was like, I need to go see my family back home because I was attending when I graduated from CCBC with my associate. I wanted to continue to get my bachelor. So I went to Baltimore, University of Baltimore, because I was studying community studies and civic engagement. But while I was in Baltimore Community College, there was a class. It's called Arts and Idea. The professor, I don't know if you heard of the class, Arts and Idea. And then there was a book we had to read. It's called The Odyssey. Oh my God.
Okay.
And the professor made a statement, said, if you're in this class, this is just a refresher. You should already know all of this. And I was like, okay, I've never been to a normal high school. I don't know anything. I don't know this. And I was just like, I'm not saying don't go out there. I mean, even though now AI is taking over everything, please do not plagiarize. I always tell my son. But I was like copying and paste on my paper because I didn't know what the hell a Zeus was, Alexandra or whatever. And so I own up to it. I say, yes, I did, because you made the statement that if you're in this class, you should know this. You didn't give me the confidence to come and ask you for help because of the statement that you made, which made me feel like, because I don't want to use my past as an excuse not to thrive.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
I don't want to use my past as an excuse not to thrive. Yes, I didn't go to school from age 9 until 17, but I don't want to use that as an excuse not to move forward in life and not to keep working hard. But when you make statements like that, it scares me because I want to own up to do my own things. Right? And a lot of us are in that situation.
How did you come about, Evelyn, as far as working with the Human Trafficking Legal Center?
Okay, yes. So Martina Vandenberg, the president of the organization, I was first on their board. I
Okay.
the board, one thing I would say when it comes to resources, legal representation for trafficking survivors is so important. And like I told you, I worked in a law firm, Baker McKenzie. And lawyers in that type of law firm make a lot of money. And we cannot afford lawyers, right? So with the Human Trafficking Legal Center, we work with big law firms to get pro bono services for our clients.
Okay.
Yeah, to go after their traffickers. So the way I came to work for the organization, I knew the president of the organization. I serve on the board, but she told me to step down from the board and get a job to work for them. So I run the survivor leadership program. And then in 2024, we launched a fellowship called the Harriet Tubman Fellowship, which was launched. We had 84 applicants, and this fellowship is only for survivors of labor trafficking, because
Okay.
a lot of labor trafficking, like I told you, they don't talk a lot about labor trafficking. And even when they have opportunities out there, programs, resources, it caters a lot, but to sex trafficking. Right? Not a lot for labor trafficking survivors. And the reason is called Harriet Tubman, because just like Harriet, she escaped from slavery, but she decided to go back. Right? She decided to go back to help other people. And that's what I'm doing. There's so many people, Otto, that have heard my story, that have reached out to me from all over the world to help them, that were in trafficking situation. In 2021 or 2022, I helped a young man that was trafficked from India to my birth country, Cameroon, to work in a gold mine.
Oh, wow.
But he reached out to me on WhatsApp, and maybe
Okay.
someone is listening to your that's why I decide to do talks to you, because I know that when I talk to people or listen to people, they reach out and they're in situations. So many, even there were people that were trafficked from my home country, Nigeria, Ghana, the Philippines. They were trafficked from their country to Kuwait. And there is really horrible. And so I work with the State Department, because the U.S. State Department has what is called the Trafficking Person Office, which we ain't gonna talk about now because I lost that part, but we ain't gonna talk about that. Just too much going on. But the Human Trafficking Legal Center, we provide legal representation for our clients by working with big law firms to provide pro bono service. But not only that, we go beyond, because just because your case has been tested, just because the case is over, it goes beyond that. There are services that survivors need. Housing is one of the biggest issue as well. That we need housing support. Social services is number one. Is housing. Housing is a big crisis. So since you work in real estate, Otto, help us get some nice housing shelter, right?
Well, I'm in commercial real estate. I just deal with, yeah.
Okay. Well, talk
With housing, unfortunately, yeah.
But housing is a big issue. So to your question, I worked with this organization because legal representation is so important. And a lot of trafficking survivors cannot afford attorneys. And so we give them that legal representation. And it's also good for us to know our rights. And not only that, we also provide the fellowship like the Harriet Tubman. I forgot to bring the little pamphlet to show you, but Harriet Tubman Fellowship, because I went to school and now I'm paying for my student loan. But with a program like Harriet Tubman Fellowship, oh, it's blurred right here.
There it is.
With a program like Harriet Tubman Fellowship, we offer like 10,000 per year for whatever education of their choice that they want. If they want to be a chef, they want to go to Art Institute, we're going to pay that for them, right? And not only that, we also do like an in-person advocacy week, which we fly them out to DC to learn how to be leaders. We do a communication training, like if they want to, because I believe truly, although somebody fought for me to be here, I believe that leaders build leaders. And so with the Harriet Tubman Fellowship, we're creating more leaders that can be out there and advocate for on behalf of labor trafficking survivors and also be in policy. So we help them if they want, we give them a choice, like if they want. And then we also provide a $500 monthly stipend to support them with their whatever need they may need. Because when I was going through school and being a mom, I was like, damn, I was getting eviction notice. I still do now. People don't know that, but I still do now. But
That hasn't changed.
it hasn't changed. It's even gotten worse.
No.
It's just that I was, when the reason of Harriet Tubman Fellowship is just when I was going through my situation, I was like, damn, I wish I had that bit of support. I wish I had some financial support or just resources, because if I had something like that, I would have been the president of, I always say the president of my country, but I told myself lately, I don't want to be part of politics no more. I'm out.
Okay.
But I want to keep fighting, right? If I had someone invest in me the way we are investing in the Harriet Tubman Fellows, I would have been far beyond where I am. What do you think?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Evelyn, you mentioned the Indian person who was listening to, who's somehow found you, and he was actually working in Cameroon in some mine. If someone right now is listening to this or watching us, and they're in a tough situation,
Mhm.
whether in America or who knows where in the world, what do you recommend? What's the next step that person should do?
I would say first try we do have a hotline number. We also have a global hotline number, but there, because of people like myself and so many highlights and so many trafficking survivors that have been speaking out about their situation, if you have a phone, you can go just Google human trafficking, human trafficking, and it will come up where you can get resources. But for our organization, you can go to our website, which is the Human Trafficking Legal Center, and you can reach out to us, and then we send resources out to you, right? And I know sometimes people do reach out to me on my number. I don't know how that goes about, but if you reach out to me, all I do is connect you to services. But if you are in that situation and you're listening and you're based in the US, please go to our website, the Human Trafficking Legal Center, and see
.org, right?
.org, yes, the Human Trafficking Legal Center.org. And then also, if you want to just support, if you're not a survivor or victim of human trafficking and you want to support the Harriet Tubman Fellowship, because funding is the key. As you guys know, last year, a lot of organizations, we don't take federal funding, but a lot of partner organizations that we collaborate with, a lot of funding cuts was taken away. A lot of aids were taken away. And so we have a lot of trafficking survivors are in situation that they cannot get the services that they need. So you can support a Harriet Tubman Fellow by donating by going to our website, the Human Trafficking Legal Center, and click the Harriet Tubman Fellowship to donate. Any amount counts. And anything you do, just know that human beings, because there's a lot of courses out there, and I know the world, there's so much going on out there. I can tell you that as someone that was taken away from her family from age 9, all I've done is try to give back to the community, creating program like the Harriet Tubman and helping my family back home and just helping my friends that I can. And I don't get paid millions of dollars to do that. I do that because I just don't want it to happen to anybody else. And we have to work on policies that are helping to address this issue. Actually, next week, Otto, I will be going on the Hill. I've testified on the Hill so many times, but next week I'll be going on the Hill to testify again on behalf of child exploitation. As you know, you see in the news right now, there's a lot of talk on trafficking, but we want to also focus on labor trafficking. So I'll be going on the Hill next week if it's confirmed. I can send you the link to talk about child my experience, but to talk about how we can address child exploitation, which is completely wrong.
Yeah. Evelyn, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today and really sharing your story. It's horrific, but I'm glad that you're doing it. We need more people like that to speak up
Yes.
and share what they've been through. I think we need to amplify it, even though it's obviously sad and unfortunate to hear. But if it's not people like that, then the world would not know. So, again, thank you so much, really, for coming on the DMV Business Show and joining me today and sharing your journey.
And thank you, Otto. Thank you for having me, and thank you for wanting to shine light on this issue. We do need more people like you to talk about it. So, because the more we talk about it, the more people will know that it's an issue, and we appreciate people like you that have a show like this to bring out the awareness on the issue. So, thank you for having me.
Of course, my pleasure. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.